I'm joined by the National Secretary of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, Folarin, for discussion on non-governmental organizations and the defense of democracy in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Folarin.
Yeah, good evening, Jimoke, and viewers from all over the places.
All right, so let's start this conversation with how democracy has fared in Nigeria 24 years after the return of democracy to the country. How will you rate the country's democracy?
Well, thank you very much. I want to start where they say that what's democracy will always be better than any military rule. And in that view, one would still appreciate the fact that we are running a democracy. We are running an acclaimed democracy, though not as one would have felt that we should have grown with the numbers of years of returns to that democracy. So I would say our democracy is still crawling, and I have thought that with all we have witnessed under the military regime, Nigeria is supposed not to be where we are today. 24 years into our return to democracy, we are still battling with quite numbers of challenges. And we are also being frightened by some issues we condemned, even under military. One would have thought that human rights would have its full space under our so-called democracy. That is the people's right, right to freedom of expression. Their right to life will be protected. Their right to the enjoyment of social, economic rights will be protected. But all of these, with what we have been witnessing, I would say emphatically that we haven't fared well as far as democracy is concerned. It is not to say that we are not moving, but we are not moving along with our age. So we still have a lot to do.
But when you talk about age, I mean, a lot of persons will say even the developed countries in the world have not had it all worked out.
Yeah, you see, we can only be consoling ourselves by all those statements. The reality of it is that, of the truth, developed country at a time, they have paid the sacrifice, they have done this, they have done that. So also Nigerians are also paying that sacrifice. We have been so devoted to the so-called democracy. We have subscribed to democracy, but unfortunately, I will still tell you that what we are experiencing today in the country is not where we should be. Under the so-called democracy we returned back to since 1999, democracy is supposed to be government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But the people's participation has not been there as expected. And when you also, the people's participation, you have seen a situation whereby those who do not even understand what democracy, those who were not part of the struggle for that so-called democracy came in, and they hijacked the entire thing, and they are manipulating it for their own interest. And the people's participation is no more given a priority. A situation whereby our electoral system is being manipulated since we returned back to democracy, not until we got to maybe 2011 or thereabout, that we could say that, oh, we have a resemblance of what a transition, an election should be. Is it the corrupt practices, the level of corruption in the country, in various sectors, and even in our electoral system? The people's participation, the people should have the right to choose their own leaders.
All right, so let's talk about elections now. I mean, we know that one of the features of democracy is periodic elections. I mean, the just concluded election makes it the country's 8th consecutive election since the return of democracy in 1999. So, I mean, overview now, how will you rate the conduct of elections in Nigeria?
That's what I was saying earlier, that when we look at 1999 to 2007, well, if we say we have test-run the electoral system because we just returned back to democracy between 1999 and 2003, and one would have thought that, okay, whatever whatever we could claim to have achieved or our intention should have been advanced from that time. But what we witnessed between 1999 and 2011, by my own evaluation, I'll tell you, was nothing near election. We saw a situation whereby the power that beast felt that they can perpetuate themselves, they careless about the input of the people in the electoral system. And that is why you see that they actually made the people to lost focus in their own supposed democracy. The people took the backseat right from the conduct of the primary election. You see the selection process was being manipulated. And even coming to the general elections, the people are not being given priority. A situation where you want to go to the ballot and you already have that view that, oh, your vote is not going to count because you are not being presented, you are not party to the options that are being presented before you. And that is why that is right from the so-called internal democracy.
Yes, but some of your colleagues will disagree with you because, I mean, according to INEC's data, a lot of Nigerians came out for this election.
I was analyzing that between 1999 and 2011. But if you're talking about the last election, I would say from 2011 to 2023 that we had, yes, because we consider those elections as very, very germane for our survival as a country.
Isn't that for growth?
And it was very, very important. And we still feel that without those elections of those years, 2011, 2015, 2019, and this 2023, I wonder where Nigeria will be today. So the apathy, the voter apathy of a thing was part of the challenges that we've been facing in the election. And it is not for any other reason than the fact that the masses still feels that their participation is not being recognized. But many thanks to the civil society and non-governmental organizations that took it upon themselves to embark on radical sensitization of the people that come. It is your right to participate, irrespective of what you have in mind, irrespective of your perception. And it was as a result of the campaign and the intervention of the non-governmental organizations that we still got the little percentage of participation that we had. But I will tell you, the turnout was not still enough. It was not something we can be proud of as a country, a situation whereby less than 50% of your population determines the fate of the entire population. I will say it is not a situation we can be proud of, but we can actually see it as a challenge we all need to improve on. So, and I will also go to say that our politicians, our political parties have not been so helpful in this regard.
How?
Internal democracy is very, very critical and germane to sustainable democracy. A situation where you are presented with options. Before you get to the general elections, the political parties are expected to have conducted their primary election. We're supposed to be devoid of any form of manipulation. We're supposed to actually reflect the will and the wishes of members of the political party. But what we've had in Nigeria is where the money bags determines what comes out. This was a country where we got the not too young to run law, but too young to afford the cost of running. We saw what happened in the various political parties, even in the last election. We saw what happened. A situation where it was the financial capacity that determines who gets what at the level of the political party. So I think that has been so detrimental to our cause in this democratic dispensation. So we have got so much challenges confronting us, confronting our democracy.
All right, so let's dig deeper. Elections in the country are still greatly determined by courts. I mean, as we speak, some parties and their candidates are still waiting for the verdict of the tribunal, while others have moved on to the Supreme Court. What's the impact of this on the country's democracy?
Yes, you say in any election, either you agree or not, a winner must emerge. Someone must be pronounced the winner. And in any democracy, it is also the right of participants in that election, maybe co-contestant, to say, oh, we do not agree with the outcome of the election. And there are laid down rules and laid down rules to be followed, among which is for you to approach the court to say, come, we do not agree with this as a party. And since the court is still looking into that, I want to say it is the right of the co-contestant to say we are doing that. But I also understood that in most cases it causes distraction for governance in the country, and that is why we have advocated, and many thanks to those that the legislature that actually assisted in reducing the time of listening to all these petitions at the tribunal. Formerly, it used to be for years, it used to be for many months, but now at least they are time bound to deliver whatever judgment they want to deliver in any contention. So we will be waiting for the court also to determine. But for the one who have been sworn in to lead, it is expected that you act in line with the constitution and deliver good governance to the people.
But is this a good thing? And for how long will this continue, where elections in the country will be determined by courts?
Yes, if there were no if there were no reasons, if the other contestants found no reason to contest the election, maybe they wouldn't have approached the court. And if for obvious reasons, for unpatriotic reasons, maybe just to distract or whatsoever, they felt they should go, I would say that is not so. That will never and can never be in the interest of the people they claim they love to serve. And that is why we will always advise as well that if you already know that you have no case to take to court, please always spare the country, always spare the people. But a situation whereby there are challenges or there were challenges in the course of conducting the election, it is the right of the co-contestant to go to court to say, come, there were a lot of irregularities in the conduct of this election, and as such, I felt the election was not conducted free and fair, and I want the court of law to look into this. I think it is not out of place for the court to look in that dimension. But what I am always disagreeing with is looking at it from the angle of technicalities. I think it will not be helping our democracy if the election is fraught with irregularities, and if those ones are not enough, if the irregularities are not enough to discredit the entire conduct of the election, there will always be another day for you to lead the country. If you're not allowed to lead today, there will always be another day for you to lead your people if you're not allowed to lead today. So that we will not be creating avoidable distractions in the country. But like I said, it is the right of the co-contestant to go to the court to challenge whatever they felt was not done. And unfortunately, we have seen some even coming up with pre-election matters when it's supposed to have even been attended to prior the election. And I would think avoidable waste of time, we should do as much as possible to try to do away with such.
All right. So as the National Secretary of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, what do you think can be done to sanitize the electoral process in our country?
Yes, number one thing I will say is that we need what we call patriotism. Patriotism, we need to be patriotic to the country. If we are patriotic to the country and we all believe in this so-called democracy, we will do it right. If the umpire does it right, if the citizens get it right, if the politicians play the game according to the rules, I think everything will go the way it is expected, and we will not be where we are today. So and for us, even as a non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations, I think we also need to hype our activities. We need to double up efforts in sensitizing the people that they must believe in their own so-called democracy. They should cast away the fear of, oh, my vote is not going to count. Your vote counts, irrespective of the challenges. Democracy anywhere in the world, most democracies still they are confronted with quite a number of challenges, and Nigeria is not an exception. But we can only get ourselves out of this if we collectively chose the right path to go, and we must shun corrupt practices in electoral process. We must shun every form of corruption. We shouldn't allow stolen wealth or financial muscle to determine who gets what in our so-called system. We should vote for competence. We should vote for the right people. We should look at the goodwill. We should look at what they have done in their various community before. Don't let us discredit them because they are not able to muzzle finances with their co-contestant. I think if we all choose to get it right, we will get out of where we are. And for us at the level of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, we have not been leaving any stone unturned. The organization was formed in 1989. We're fully part of, it was a platform for the emancipation of the so-called democracy we can claim to have in the country today. Many of our leaders laid their life for the struggle of today. And I would say we cannot leave the stage. Rather, we will double our efforts to ensure that democracy have its way, have its seat in our so-called country.